Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Crossover. Starring Josh Johnson and Chris McGill. Featuring Christina Thorson. And of course, you, the Instagram live chat. Now, sit back and enjoy this week's edition of The Crossover. Powered by Card Ladder.
69th. Stiff is back in the chat. Let's go.
Nobody cares about who was first in the live. It's all about posting.
Exactly.
Just to clarify.
All right, let's let some people come in. What's up, Hillcrest? J Pine, it's now 11 in the morning in Thailand. Nice.
We did the show for him. We optimized the time for him.
We did. What's up, Steve? Drake, you had a lot of great questions this week, buddy.
Yep, he does. And one of the three, though, was the usual question thing. I was getting worried.
Safe to know Drake's account has not been hacked.
If he doesn't ask that question one week, he has left the hobby, and we should all panic.
Yeah, that we are at that point. I thought we had amazing questions this week.
Agreed.
Maybe it's just
Nope.
one show in the last 4 weeks or whatever that did that for us, but
Well, we've had a pretty busy week in terms of news, the Mint. We have an announcement for Card Ladder. It's a busy week.
yeah, very, very busy week. And yeah, we've got like 4 huge topics that we'll get to cover this week. But before we get to that stuff, do you have any mail days?
I have a mail day. I do, in fact, still buy sports cards.
It's not the keys to a Tesla, is it?
Nope, it is a card. I bought a few this week, and only one made it in time, so I'll have a bunch more next week.
Let's go. What do we got?
Let's see here. Let me turn this around. We've got the 2015 Todd Gurley Gold Refractor Auto. Do you know what these are
Nice.
numbered to?
50?
Nope, these ones are numbered to 10, my friend.
Wow, look at that.
So the regular gold refractors are numbered to 50, but the autos are numbered to 10. So pretty sweet card. I've been trying to get one of these for a while, but they just, doesn't show up. It doesn't show up, but popped up.
How'd you find it?
It just came up on eBay. Well, the guy relisted it like 50 times. He just kept lowering the starting bid price, and finally it got into my range.
Waited him out.
Waited him out. And then I bought a bunch of other girly stuff, so should be good for next week.
Wow. All right, damn. The girly comeback. Okay, is that it?
That's it.
Okay, let's go. All right, I have 2. I had 4 that were graded at the mints, but you can see those on our YouTube channel. So instead, I'll just do the one is a mail day that I came home to, and the other was one that I traded for at the mint. So let's go. Here's the first one. 2018 Prism Jokic PSA 9 from a friend in China. So thank you, friend in China, for this. And this will pair with my PSA 10. And I never looked at what number out of 10 it was. This is number 4 of 10. And then the other one is, this also was on the mint video, but this is still a pickup, so rather than a grade. This is a trade with Coleman. It's the 2020 Prism widescreen insert, black 1 of 1. And I got this at the mint. The trade was figured out before the mint, but picked it up at the mint. And I'm pretty happy. It's always great to come home to a sick mail day. And then, to pick something up at a show as well it always makes the show that much better. So
Nice.
decent mail days. Oh, Stiff says that was not in the mint video. Okay.
Did this friend in China send you a pity card because he knows he's not sending you the 101s?
This is a different friend in China.
Yeah, okay. He's like, here, you can't have the real ones, but here's a gold.
I would have taken a sympathy Prism Gold from him as well, but no, this is a different Jokic collector, also in China, who sold me that.
Nice.
So
Very nice.
shout out to the Chinese collectors. All right, and then you said we have a card ladder announcement, which we do. It's for the power users, but it's a great one.
It is for the power users. Okay, so it's such a power feature that I don't know that it's worth our time to like explain everything, except just kind of jump in and show what it is, you know?
Sure.
So if you're familiar with our options for estimating value on a card, we've added a new one and sort of like reorganized the existing ones a bit to make them a little simpler and easier to understand. So if you go to estimate value, you'll see the new layout, index plus purchase price, which was existing, but we've kind of renamed them, index plus manual sale, and then the new one is custom sales query. So I'll jump into that.
All right.
So this is how you do it. This is how Chris and Christina do this for cards on the ladder. This is the methodology you guys choose.
Yep.
We basically allow you to start by picking an index, just like you would with the other methods, and it can be a player or a category. And then you write a query. Do you want to explain the query, maybe just like briefly?
Yeah, we have an explainer that you can click right there in the green. Yeah, so that's going to be a super helpful explainer for how you can write your own queries. But basically, it's just using Boolean search techniques. And if you're not familiar with those, that's using words that you want to include to narrow in your search of our sales history to find the sales that you want. And it allows you to exclude words to further narrow in. And so we've got some best practices for how to use that. But it's writing searches so that you narrow in on just the card and the sales history, strictly of the card that you want to track and nothing else.
And it's similar to eBay, correct?
Exactly right. It's the same logic as eBay uses.
And so there's two benefits to this. One is that you are able to narrow down specifically the card you're looking for, which you could do previously, but now we're actually allowing you to use this as your point of reference for which sale is going to be the one that comes in. So like if you make this query and you pull in the sales that exist, and then going forward, let's say a new sale comes in tomorrow, this will automatically pull that in. So you don't have to go and update it after a sale comes in. It'll just keep pulling in new sales that match your query, automatically update your value of your card, and you move forward. So you don't have to touch anymore. And this is how we do it internally. So like you guys as a research team write these queries, it builds the profile, and then you don't have to do it ever again. At that point, you're just sort of managing new sales that come in.
Exactly. And it's so cool because like as you're writing your query, you can tweak it. The results show up below. You can really work on tailoring it and tweaking it until you get a really good query. And then you can take total control over constructing the sales history of cards that are in your collection.
Yep. And then the other bonus is that when you do that, it's actually going to allow you to view all the sales in a list view like you would for the ladder. So this was not previously possible, but now using this query, it's going to automatically just pull these sales in. You can kind of get this view of it, and it pulls it into the graph. So now you're basically kind of having the full power that we have to like build your own ladder cards, and you can do it really like super finely grained. Like if you get as good as you guys have at the queries, you'll know how like specific you can actually get.
Yep. There's an art to it, and making sure that you cast your search wide enough that you don't miss any sales of your card, but making it narrow enough that you don't bring in any sales that you don't want. It takes practice for sure.
And this is definitely a power feature. It's like if you're not into like if you just want like the price and you want to know what it's worth really quick, this will not be for you, because it is quite a bit of work in terms of like building the query, and it can get frustrating when sales that aren't that card come in and stuff like that. So we built this for the power users. We do have quite a few people that were asking about this. Can you see which sales are being pulled into to your query, yes, you can always pull it up over here after you're done, and then while you're doing it, I don't know if I maybe didn't show it that very well. But like as you're doing it, it'll show like a preview of what's going to come in. So it shows like the top 20, I think, of what based on the query as you write it, it'll update and show what's about to be pulled in.
Yeah, that's pretty sick. That's pretty damn sick.
That is it on that front. So I've been working on that for a while. It's tricky. It's tricky. So if you guys see any issues, let me know. But I think it's pretty smooth. We've had a few of our power users using it so far without any problems. So I think we should be pretty good.
Yeah. If I was a user, this would be one of the greatest days in userdom for me, because this gives you the power to become your own card ladder research team and take total control over leveraging the database capabilities that Card Ladder has, but leveraging it towards tracking the cards that you want to track in the way that you want to track them, giving you total control over it. So looking forward to seeing how people use that and maybe even innovate on it and find ways to use it that we haven't thought of yet.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a pretty big update. That's a feature, like Josh said, that's been long in the works. And when you use it, you'll figure out why.
That's live on the web and Android and iOS. No waiting. That's our thing. We don't make people wait. We just announce it and it's ready.
Let's go.
No beta.
All right.
Up in.
Are we ready to get into the topics? Because there's a lot of them.
We got a lot. Let's go.
All right. First one we're going to do is the Mid Collective. A lot of people weren't able to go. A lot of people were. And but if you weren't able to go, or if you want to relive it, go to the Card Ladder YouTube channel, because Stiff Arm Wax, like within hours after the day concluded, was putting out fully produced, fully edited documentary style videos of the experience.
Yep. I saw him after the first one and I was like, wow, it took you long enough. It's morning, dude.
Yeah, exactly. So if you haven't seen those yet.
It's like the production quality of like a Netflix documentary that he makes overnight. I don't even understand. I don't know anything about video editing, but
yeah. Minty says stuff the goats, but he means stiff, but
he fixed it. Stiff was giving me the secrets. I got the lowdown on the secrets of how he does it. He was basically saying like he kind of like knows how he wants it to end up, so he like edits in the way that stuff he doesn't film. Like a lot of people will over film and then have to edit down. He's like, no, I'm only filming what I want to go in the final thing, and I don't have to edit as much. Smart.
Yeah. You really got to be on a high level to be able to do that.
So what about the mint? What's the question? Do people want to know the recap or what we thought of it?
I got a bunch of them. All right, so the first question on the mint was from Dreamcast Cards, which says, how did your panel go, and what were some of the key takeaways?
So the panel we did was you, me, and Justin 610 Sports Cards. Great collector. He's been collecting longer than we have. It was great. I thought, well, I mean, first of all, you're like the best at the moderating game, I think. Like you did a really nice job kind of guiding us through the topics. And then Justin kind of did our thing, and then you bounced back and had your responses. So I thought it was good overall, and we talked a lot about, like this collector versus investing thing, and kind of like, how to make, how you can kind of come out of the, the bubble and like the fall of the value of cards and use your collector brain to kind of navigate through that and take advantage of it. Are those anywhere? Are those videos anywhere? I don't think so, right?
I don't think so. No.
So you have to use your imagination. Or just watch the rest of the show.
What's that?
I said, or just watch the rest of the show, because we say a lot of the same stuff.
Yeah, exactly. If you watch Crossover regularly, you probably didn't miss too much. One of my favorite moments, though, of that talk was towards the end when we opened it up to questions. There's some great questions. And one of the questions was, what would you do if you had $1 million to invest in cards, what would you buy? And that's always such a fun question. And the question asker was dead serious. You know, he clearly had an amount to invest in cards, but he didn't know where to go with it. And so, like, what would you say? I mean, we know there are people out there who are in this exact situation, who have a nice budget, want to buy cards, but they have no idea what to do. And what would you say to them?
Well, I'd say what I said to the guy. I said, you know, who's your favorite player? What's your favorite sport? And let's start there. You know, like, let's figure out something you're passionate about, and you'll be more likely to be successful if you're spending that money on something you like. And obviously, like, within that lane, there's ways to try to be smarter about your money if your goal is financial. But I think you can kind of pick any lane and find your spot, you know?
Exactly. Good. Okay. So there's a little snippet from the panel. Christina also hosted a panel that was focused on people who went from being collectors to people who work in the industry, and some people who made that transition 10, 15, 20 years ago, other people who made it recently. So we had Jack Archer from PSA, we had Jeff Hofer from Panini, Billy Celio from Upper Deck, we had Jeremy Fullerton from Topps, and we had Suze from CSG, and Christina, the host. So that was a really good panel. And something that a topic of great interest to me is, how do people deal with going from not working in the industry to working in the industry? And so what do you think about that panel? Do you have any takeaways from it?
No, I mean, it was awesome because I don't get to hear from most of those people often. So to hear their take and just like the experience they all had, like, they've been in the business a lot longer than I've been in the hobby. So it's cool to know that, like, people have been kind of building this foundation of the business side of it long before a lot of these sort of, I don't know what to call them, you know, like random pop-up businesses that came up during the boom. There are companies that are much more established and have people that have worked there for a long time. And all of them collected, it seemed like, you know, like all of them were like hobbyists first, so that was cool.
Nice. All right, Mike Pinkerton 50 has a question. He says, was the Mint Collective good or bad for the hobby?
I don't see how it could be bad for the hobby.
Like, I don't know where this energy is coming from, but there's like another question as well. Maybe two more questions that are kind of like hinting at a negative vibe.
There's one. I think what they're maybe getting at is the Beckett thing. Like, maybe
yeah, right.
Like, maybe there's a sense that, like, some of these companies are sort of scrambling to make announcements at some of these shows to make a splash and make your presence known, that they just sort of like come up with random ones and make them up. I don't know.
I would have to stretch hard. I would have to reach to figure out, or to make an argument for why the Mint was bad. So, but yeah, you know, I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something. All right, Drake's PC says, "What do you want to see more of next year? What was there just the right amount of, and what should there be less of?"
We need more social events with people standing around drinking beer.
Yeah. Yep. Always can use more of those. Right there.
Well, what do you think? What did you think about the balance between the panels and the marketplace? Did you think it was like that change versus last year?
I did. It was good. I like the panels as like the sober, serious portion of the show. And I like them up front. They get the neurons firing. And then I like transitioning into the wild, wild west of the show setting, where then it's just free for all, go meet, do, see, whatever you want to do, have fun.
Yeah. I mean, dude, I feel like the three of us, and Nick included, the four, we're pretty easy to please at these shows. Like, have cards set out, have people show up that we like talking to, and that's it. Like, you know, we don't need much. So that's why I just, like, I don't see how you could make a bad card show, to be honest.
Yep. I mean, a card show is going to be great just because it's a card show.
Yeah. So, it's like pizza. All pizza is good, right?
Especially Elliot's.
especially Elliott.
Took down an Elliott's yesterday.
No, but I liked the new structure better than last year. Because I felt like last year I wasn't sure if I should be at one or the other, and this was like 1 day of the panels and 2 days of the marketplace. Much better.
Yeah, me too. All right, Drake had another question, which was, what was something new or something you only had a little bit of knowledge of, whether it was a company or a product, that was present at the Mint that was most intriguing to you, and why?
Baseball cards, Topps. I know nothing about baseball. I felt like I walked away from it thinking I had more respect for baseball cards than when I got there. Just like meeting Jeremy, talking to the Topps team, hearing about this new idea of the debut patches. Like, there's just a lot more going on that we don't know about necessarily, that, baseball's innovating too, and they're not just, baseball is like, the real baseball, MLB, is like making rule changes. The card companies are trying to, follow suit and be innovative alongside MLB. So I thought that was cool.
That's a great answer. I don't have a good answer to this. That's a good one.
Because you and I were like eBay searching Shohei Ohtani cards at random points, and it's like we would never have done that if it weren't for going to the show.
You're very true. Very, very true. Yeah, I don't know, Drake. There wasn't anything that for me. I suddenly learned about or discovered that was worth noting.
You already knew everything? Is that what you're saying?
I already knew everything, so it's not easy to be this way. Okay, Bruin Killer says, I heard that Josh beat Adam Morrison at Pop-A-Shot for all the marbles at the Mint. Is this true or false?
This is true. He was talking shit that he's like, this is the 4th time you've played me. First of all, it was the 3rd time. And the first 2, I had no time to warm up. I just walked in cold. So, in my opinion, the one that I won was the one we were both warm. There's your shit talk from me.
Let's
Took
go.
him down.
And after he lost to you, he quit.
He was out.
So he didn't want to have any more L's on his record.
He just walked. He didn't just quit Pop-A-Shot. He left the whole event. He was out of there.
He was out. He did the opposite of Tank.
There was I think I might have told you this. I don't know if I told Christina. You guys were opening the box. Christina was opening the box, and I was like playing because I just loved Pop-A-Shot, so I just kept playing. And I had combined all the 8 ball. There was 2 racks, 2 games with 4 balls each, and I combined them all into 8 into 1. And I was just going and practicing, like trying to get a high score. And I got a high score of like 72, which for the night was good. And I literally got to 72, turned around, and was like, all of you were gone. It's like, okay, just the guy. And then there's like a picture, or in the YouTube clip, you could like see me in the background by myself.
I love that. That's I can totally relate to that.
You did not pull the 5, right? I didn't miss. I feel like I would have known.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You would have known. We did not pull the 5. That definitely did not happen. But the hunt was on for that Maxi Kleber.
How many boxes did you guys end up with?
We opened 2, and I have 2 sealed.
You still have 2 sealed? But over the course of the event, there was maybe 5 or 6 opened.
Over the course of the event, yeah, there was. I think there were 5 open because I believe there were 7 boxes total that were brought to the Mint.
You guys have made it a week with 2 sealed boxes? How did you manage that?
I know. I forgot those even existed.
Yeah.
That's the key. All right, last question on the Mints from the Couchman Sports Cards. Present company excluded, of course. Was the Mint the massive douche fest that it that it appeared to be on social media? It's like, I didn't know about this. What does this mean? I'm confused.
I don't know. I feel like I'm hinting some jealousy of people that didn't make it out.
Oh, okay, all right. That's a way to. That's a direction to take it in. Like I didn't watch any content from the Mints except for the card letter stuff. So, but that's probably a douchey thing to say in and of itself.
I didn't feel that way. I felt like all the like collectors that I expected to be there were there. I didn't see too many of like the camera crew. Are we talking about like the camera crew stuff or like the influencer
Yeah, I
stuff?
don't know. I'm so confused. What is meant by this?
Man, are you running for president? You're being all political tonight. You're like, you know what? I'm gonna step back and I don't know what they're talking about. I don't know.
Running for president of the hobby. Declaring today my candidacy.
I have 33 minutes left of a holy day. And in 33 minutes, I will give you my opinion on a lot of things, but I'm not allowed to swear. So I'm gonna
Have you gone the whole day without swearing?
I swore twice on the phone with David Marino during a meeting.
I would have sworn at least twice talking to him as well.
Yeah, I blame him, obviously.
Right.
So yes, this is I've gone all day without swearing.
Okay. All right. Well, two diplomats today.
Let's start firing off questions at Christina for 33 minutes so we can get her tempered, rational, calm answers. That's what the people really want, right? That's why they come, is for Christina's even-keeled answers.
Yes. Go ahead. Yeah.
This question about like present company excluded, there were some people there that I would classify under that title.
Oh, we know.
Massive D. And I would blame them for what it looks like from the outside. The four of us were extremely busy, right? Like, so we weren't putting out our content except for what Stiff was putting together and releasing.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I as well did not watch any content. I haven't even watched the third episode yet of Stiff's documentary. So like I'm behind on that. So I guess I would ask
well, look, here's what
for more info.
Lauren says: a douche fest, no, but a presence, sure.
Well, this is the same topic that comes up when people are talking about, you know, how they hate all card content. It's like you only can see what people put out. So it's the same here. Like if you're only seeing certain accounts put out content, you might think it's a douche fest because the people who aren't douches just aren't making content. They're enjoying the show and having fun with their friends, you know?
Yes. I mean, I would say my experience was douche-free for the most part.
Well, that's good.
All right. That's it on the mints. All right. Now for some NBA talk. JGP Collectibles says, talk about the Mavericks tank job. So,
He's not allowed to swear. This is going to go well.
This was a meme. This was a meme at the start of this season when I said, wouldn't it be funny if the Mavericks ended up tanking and missing the playoffs? And it took 80 games for them to get there, but they did. Oh, that's good, Steph. We're not going to go with that, but it'll be fun to read it again at the end. It was just the Mavericks. It was so bizarre that they tanked, because I don't think a team that still was alive to make the playoffs has ever tanked in the 81st game of the year. I think that is unprecedented for a team to do that. So, I understand why they did it. They did it because they owe a top 10 protected pick to the Knicks. So by tanking, they locked themselves into the 10th worst record, which, unless one of the teams in 11th through 14th stumbles into one of the top 4 picks via the lottery ping pong balls, which could happen, the Mavs will keep their pick, and it'll be 10th, and then they have like a small percentage chance that they could get the first, second, third, or fourth pick. So that's why they did it. But I would have never done that. I think when you've got a playoff chance and you're still alive for the playoffs, you do not tank, period. And there's a lot of hubbub, is that word? There's a lot of noise being made about, the Mavs can, now they have this top 10 pick, they can trade it. Well, they have to draft somebody and then trade it. And that's fine that they keep the pick instead of conveying it to the Knicks, but it really doesn't matter because they can only trade a maximum of 2 first-round picks this summer because of the way the rules work. You can't trade consecutives. They already gave up their 29 first round. So they could, no matter what happened, they could have only traded 2 first-round picks this summer. So now one of the ones that they can trade effectively is this year's. But they still owe the Knicks a first-round pick, which will just be next year's. And so what's next year's going to be? The number 19 pick? The number 20 pick? Okay, fine. So you got to keep the 10, but next year you convey the 19 or the 20. The difference between the 10th pick and the 19th and the 20th, it's not that big. It's a difference, but it's not that big. But what did you give up by selling that, by selling your season? You gave up a live chance to make the playoffs in a year where the best team in the West is going to end up with a record of 52-30. The West is open, and they sold their playoff run to keep a top 10 pick when it doesn't make them it only very marginally improves what they can do this summer. It basically doesn't change it at all. And they still have to convey the first round pick next year to the Knicks instead. So to me, very little was gained, and much of would they have done much in the playoffs? Probably not. But what they gave up was the ability. What they gave up was becoming the first team I could imagine giving up when you're still live for the playoffs. So
let's also add in Luka's record year. And by benching him, you gave up the scoring title for him as well.
True as well. And it was the most awkward thing to watch in person.
Where the fans are doing.
Dude, look, I don't want to get too critical of Mavs fans, but I don't think most of them even knew what was going on.
Oh my God. I just saw that picture of Cuban smiling and I thought, you fucking don't want me to go to the games next year, you asshole? Here's the other thing you didn't bring up is that the Bucks won tonight. The Bucks lost to the Grizzlies, which may seem like, what are you talking about? The Grizzlies were trying to hold off the Kings, and if they would have lost tonight and the Kings lost, or the Kings won, right, then
Yep.
the Grizzlies would have to try against the Thunder, and then the Thunder might lose, and the Mavs could still get in. But now that the Grizzlies don't have to try, the Thunder will probably beat them.
Yep.
The issue is that the Mavs have one more game. So fucking win this game, win tonight's game, just beat them, see what happens in that other game, then you can tank. Or you don't even need to tank. It's already been done for you. And you don't have to worry about any of this backlash from the media, from the fans, people thinking that your owner's an idiot. All you had to do was wait for the Thunder to win. But now you look like dummies because you tanked a game early. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yep. I agree. And, bench teams are beating starters a lot right now. So the Nuggets bench beat the Warriors starters a few days ago with nothing on the line for the Nuggets. Today, the 76ers bench beat the Atlanta Hawks when the Atlanta Hawks were playing all there. Today, that happened. That literally happened today. It's not like it was an impossible scenario that the Grizzlies bench could have beaten the Thunder starters. It's been happening a lot. And I've seen the Mavericks get beaten by benches in the last few weeks. Teams are getting beaten by benches and played close by benches a lot right now. So, yeah, but they sold their season. And
then why did Luka play? Why did Luka play? Why even put him out there if you're going to bench him after the first quarter? It makes no sense.
It was so weird.
It was Slovenia night.
Yeah, it was
like
Slovenia night, but I don't even think that's the main factor because he sat out the Cleveland game, where Cleveland has the largest Slovenian diaspora in the United States, and he sat out that game. So I don't even think that's the factor. I think it was just a weird, stupid compromise of like Luka made a quote that said he's never giving up until there's no more chance to get in the playoffs, and the team wanted to tank. So they just made this stupid compromise.
But they probably made him do it, but then he did give up because the game wasn't over and he showered and got dressed in street clothes in the middle of the game. I've never seen anything like that before, dude. So weird.
Yeah, it was weird. Alex Caruso did it as well because the Bulls were tanking too. Like it wasn't even like they needed to try to win this game. The Bulls were tanking so hard that Alex Caruso played the first half. He showered and changed his clothes. It was just, it was weird. It was not good. I don't think that's the way you want to run your organization.
No, I don't know what you guys are going to do next year. And I know you guys moved, and I know that this is a shitty way to end it, but like that would leave seeing Cuban like that would leave a bad taste in my mouth, knowing I moved out there. I'd be fucking livid looking at that douchebag's face.
I can relate to that. You know, it's not any consolation to other Mavericks fans or Luka fans, but I'm not so fired up about this outcome, and I'll tell you why. The best thing that could have happened to the Mavs, the best path they had forward was you win your 2 playing games, so you get to become the 8 seed. And then as the 8 seed, you have to go up against the Nuggets as the 1 seed. And look, I'm sorry, Luka, but this is Joker's year, baby. So I don't need you getting in the way. I would much rather take on, the Pelicans or the Thunder or whoever than have to face Kyrie and Luka. So Luka being out of the way means my allegiances won't even be at risk of being divided, as I can focus exclusively on rooting for the Nuggets.
And I already started packing. We're moving to Denver.
Yeah. It's like there's still 1 game left in the regular season. You guys can just move to Denver.
Right. Still time.
I'm not looking. I know I won't call foul if you guys do that last minute.
No, but I did text you around halfway through the season that we moved to the wrong city. But you know what, though? Outside of the basketball tragedy that happened with the Mavericks, Dallas is a great city for the hobby, for the Dallas Card Show stuff, for the friends we've made here. It's good.
Nice.
Yes. All right. Mostly Nines basketball card says, is it still too soon for playoff predictions?
No, never. Well,
Yep.
predicting the playoff matchups. The matchups are pretty much set, right? Except for I think the 5, 6, 7, 8 West, right? Like everything else is pretty much, and like obviously the 7, 8 for East, but
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think we have enough. I have enough of an approximation that I can tell you what I think the final 8 teams will be.
sure.
So in the West, I think your round 2 is going to be the 1 seed Nuggets versus the 4 seed Suns.
Oh, we're going into round 2. Okay.
Yeah, and then the other 2 teams in the West will be the Warriors versus the Grizzlies.
Ugh, puke.
So I think those are your 4 in the West, your final 4 in the West. Your final 4 in the East is super easy. That's going to just run down the top 4. You're going to have Milwaukee, Boston, Philly, and Cleveland. Now, had Miami actually got the 6th seed, then I would have been a little more worried because they match up well against Philadelphia, but they didn't. So I think that's going to be that's going to be your 4. It's going to be Milwaukee versus Cleveland, and it's going to be Boston versus Philly. Now, if you disagree with that, you modify it as you like. But B, if you agree, generally speaking, that that's who the teams are going to be, then what do you think is going to happen? Who do you see clash in the finals and winning?
No. Let's stop there, man. We can't just give away these. The playoffs haven't even started. We gotta leave. I completely agree with your final 8. Let's stop it there.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. We can't give it all away. We have to ease into this as the playoffs.
We're just dropping finals picks and look, this is like fucking April, beginning of April.
Oh, that's so true. All right.
I agree though. I know people are excited about the Lakers. I just don't see it. I think they're fool's gold. So I don't even know if they're gonna make the stupid playoffs. Like they gotta beat a good team. Grizzlies would take care of them.
Yeah.
The Kings maybe is the only one you can make an argument. Like maybe the Kings are, they got the beam home court advantage over the Warriors. The Warriors still could get the 5 seed, so I'm slightly worried about that. But other than that, I basically agree. Maybe the Knicks fans might get mad at you, but come on.
Oh, Knicks fans. Yeah, it's Knicks fans are riding so high on Jalen Brunson. Let me tell you guys something. Jalen Brunson.
All you have to do is keep Jalen Brunson. You guys would be in the finals again.
Exactly. Yeah, like as if Jalen Brunson was somehow. Dude, Jalen Brunson is a very good offensive player. He is not a good defensive player. The Mavericks offense this year without Jalen Brunson improved by several points in offensive efficiency. So Jalen Brunson, he's not the difference maker in any way with the Mavericks. The Mavericks actually got better without him at the things that he does. Where the Mavericks screwed up was defensively. And
where the Mavericks
really
screwed up was they let him go for nothing. That's where the Mavericks screwed up.
Well, that too.
They should have signed him and then traded him if
Yep.
they didn't want him.
Yep.
And that's what's wrong with this front office, is they're not actually chess players.
Right.
They're tic-tac-toe players, but they consider themselves chess players.
Right. Yep. Fair. There's a lot wrong with the front office, unfortunately. But all right. And finally, Chris Cards KC. What will the impact be on the Kevin Durant market if the Suns win the title?
I mean, it would have to go up, right? It's like people are taking points away from him because of the whole Curry Warriors thing. Well,
Yeah.
he's definitely he's the alpha now, so it would just be. I think he was the alpha on those Warriors teams. Just saying that he was the Finals MVP, but in a lot of people's eyes, he joined like one of the best teams of all time. This is a little bit different. I don't know. I never like answering this question. What if event A happens? What happens to the card prices? I generally don't think it works like that, but
Well, you could be like Patrick Mahomes and run the table and win the MVP, the Super Bowl MVP, and the Super Bowl.
exactly.
Lose half your value.
Well, if we're going that route, I think we're all going to be rich when this Netflix documentary comes out, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm banking on. That's definitely what I'm banking on. So,
My pinball machines will finally go up in value.
okay. We do have a question about that later. All right. Collectogram says, are people still buying cards, or am I the only degenerate who just can't stop?
Definitely not the only one. Just check sales history. There's like 60,000 people buying cards every day.
Fair. But maybe people feel that way sometimes. That
Yeah, I know why.
still buying.
Didn't you get another question on this for the tops thing? Or no, that was a tweet where it's like the stuff we see is all kind of based around the gambling aspect, the ripping and the breaking, and us collectors. We brought this up at the Mint. Like some of the collectors, people that are buying cards, we feel like we're not getting any of the people that are just doing the boring stuff, buying the cards for their sets, continuing on doing the way that doing things they've always done, buying cards they like, players they like. That's not getting much shine lately, and maybe that's the feeling.
Yep, I think that's about right. We've already talked a lot about that idea of highlighting the collector, especially from the tastemakers, etc., in the hobby.
And the company businesses.
Yeah. All right. Sort of related question from Cards Are for Nerds. Is the quote-unquote bottom even real? Or will people just keep paying less than 80% of the last comp and then less than 80% of that comp until everything just goes to zero?
As we approach infinity of zero or just approach zero, no, that's not going to happen.
Right. That's where you're wrong, Cards Are for Nerds. If you're a real nerd, you would know that if you keep cutting something in half or reducing it by 80%, it can never go to zero. So, gotcha.
Also, some people still pay 120% of comps. You're looking at two of them.
True.
I can guarantee you, if he listed this girly at 99-cent auction, it would have sold for like $50, and I paid $100 because I got tired of watching it. I just was like, fine, I'll just buy it. Don't care.
Yeah. Yep. Facts. But like those cards are the cards that like used to have that emotional quality were like cards that we saw all the time. You know, like everyone was like, "Oh man, I have to get the Prism-based PSA 10 of De'Aaron Fox." You know? Like, it was like a man. It's like, oh my God, these are so limited. You know, but people still have that quality. I think people definitely still have that quality. But it's moved. It's been transferred onto cards that are maybe a little more deserving of it. You know, gold autograph rookies out of 10 from Topps Chrome, for example. And so you're not going to see it. You know, it's not going to be as visible. There's not going to be charts anywhere showing that card is surging because it's not possible to have a chart of cards like that, you know, just never even sell.
Yeah, the CL50 might keep going down, to your point.
Yeah.
But the, what do we call that other one?
The outlier index.
The outlier index seems to keep going up. You know, like that kind of proves your point, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, he changed his name back?
Who did?
Kobe 81231996. Didn't you say he changed his Instagram handle?
He has 2 accounts. He has 2. Okay.
Oh,
I thought that's
great.
Yeah, that's Mohammed. He now goes by Man Cards, but he's on his account.
He's got a burner now. Is that what you're saying?
I guess. I thought he had changed that. I thought that was the account that changed. Maybe he can clear this up.
He's got my attention.
All right, let's go. All right. Thank you, Steph. I'm writing down these titles that you suggest as they come in. Okay. And Stacking Gems. Final little market question here. He says,
Right.
Are cards still overvalued? I think like calling back to us sort of saying that for a few years. He says, are cards still overvalued? And what's your opinion?
Well, my answer to this is pretty consistent. I think once we hit the point where everyday average normal collectors feel like the value of these cards makes sense to pull them into their collection and own the cards at the price they're selling at, that's when it's going to stop. And I personally am getting closer and closer to that point. I've been buying and eyeing stuff more in that range that I used to buy at, and I've been picking them off little by little, but most people are hesitant to sell at that range. But it's kind of like slowly creeping for us to meet those sellers at that point, little by little. So, I mean, that's just my personal, like, on the markets that I watch, that's what I'm noticing.
Yeah. Sounds about right. I struggle to call markets, tops and bottoms, but I keep on collecting cards throughout it all. So I'm always gonna, pay what the market will bear when the grail that I need comes up. That's about that's about the only way you can answer that question, Stacking.
What's the C card, buy card? Didn't we have like
the caveman approach.
The caveman approach. It's just like, oh, that card's for sale. Fucking buy it.
Exactly. Exactly. All right. Now we have much questions on Fanatics and Topps and basketball.
Okay. Well, we got to do Beckett. It's too late in the show.
All right, hold on a minute then. Let me go find the Beckett.
Do you disagree?
No, I don't. I mean, we can definitely. We really like. I just slowed it down to one question.
Okay.
3 or 4 people wrote in about it, but
It just
JGP
says, how dare you?
JGP Collectibles just says, talk about Beckett's grading fiasco.
That was an Office reference. You didn't catch that. She's like, I have a question. Kelly was like, Ryan was like, any questions? And Kelly's like, I have a question. How dare you?
Right. Yeah.
Sorry. What did you narrow it down to?
It was just Jose says, discuss Beckett's grading fiasco.
Oh,
So
I want to hear yours. You were firing off some spicy. I don't want to call them takes, but opinions on this. What did you? Let me hear yours first.
yeah, well, first of all, it has to be acknowledged from my side that I work for the parent company of PSA. So that's something that has to be said right up front. Is that I'm biased right off the bat, in favor of PSA, and that everybody should know that before they hear my questions here or my comments here. But with that said, I still have plenty of BGS slabs on my PC. And the way that I know how to tell the story best of kind of what happened over the course of the mint was, on Thursday night, I went to sleep with 31 Gem Mint BGS slabs in my collection. And as you know, I've been curating my collection. For example, I'm collecting Luck of the Lottery Gold. That in the insert set from 2018, this is the 14 lottery picks, then a 15th card of the class. I'm collecting them in all gold, Prism Gold out of 10, and I'm collecting them in BGS 9.5s because I just think it looks sharp. The gold label against the gold insert card. So I've got 8 or 9 of them maybe, or 10, and I'm trying to get the whole set. So, I'm trying to get the set in Gem Mint, BGS Gem Mint. And so on Thursday night, I go to sleep with 31 Beckett Gem Mint slabs. And on Saturday morning, I wake up and I have 4. And the other 27 had been downgraded to a new grade called Mint Plus, which to, say that was disturbing to me as a collector is wildly understating the case. It was just bewildering or depressing. Sounds ridiculous, but a little bit depressing to see that, over the course of my collecting career, I had regarded 9.5s as Gem Mints. I've actually read the little paragraph on all the grading companies' websites that says what the grading standard is for a Gem Mint. I know how each of the companies defines Gem Mint. I was under the impression I was buying Gem Mint slabs for the last however many years, and come to find out that I wasn't. That 9.5 no longer means Gem Mint. It means something else. It's been downgraded, and that just was a gut punch, and it just was very concerning to me. As a grading company, I think there's lots of things that a grading company can iterate on, can evolve, can change, can innovate on. You can change your logo, you can change the way your slabs look if you want. You can change the thickness of the slabs, the clarity of the plastic, you can update the website, you can update your marketing, you can build new products that surround the grading product. But the one thing that I would ask that grading companies don't change is their grading scale. And there's an exception. When SGC added its Mint Plus, it didn't change its scale. It just created a new in-between grade, which is fine. You're not changing the scale. You're just recognizing an in-between grade that always existed. It just didn't have a slab for it. But with companies actually saying all these millions of cards we've graded, we're changing what they were graded to retroactively.
Right.
Was devastating. It was just devastating. And it especially hits me hard because I have so much respect for Dr. James Beckett. He is the hobby GOAT. He shepherded this hobby through its biggest boom in the 90s. He put Michael Jordan on something like 80 magazine covers that sat in the magazine aisle at every retail outlet and made our hobby look just as legitimate as Sports Illustrated or ESPN Magazine or any of those. And, the Beckett brand, the Beckett magazine, it means a lot to the hobby. And I just I couldn't believe it. But the moral of the story, or the end of this story at this time, is that Beckett decided against revising all the true Gem 9.5s and the Mint Gem 9.5s. It decided against revising them down to Mint Pluses. And instead it stuck with its grading scale, which I feel strongly was the right thing to do.
They had a freaking army of people coming out. That post had over 1,000 comments. And I don't know what you know about the hobby, Chris. I look at a lot of Instagram posts. I have never seen a post with over 1,000 comments. It was I see people with paid advertisement bullshit where they get the biggest celebrities and influencers in the world and they'll get 4 comments on a post because nobody gives a shit. You post something about changing people's slab meanings, and the grade scale, you're gonna get 1,000 fucking comments on it real quick. People were pissed. So they didn't really have much of a choice. Then they came out and said, like, hey, we want feedback from collectors, people that buy our slabs. Let us know what you would like to see. They obviously should have done that in the first place and not tried to rush out this release of this. You skip the part where they first came out with, hey, quad 9.5 and up is now pristine and a 10 instead of 9.5. And then they changed the bat the next day because people didn't like that. And they changed it on the fly to this one you're describing. So they basically had 24 hours where they came up with this thing. And this is maybe this is kind of what I was hinting at earlier in the show, was like, we don't need to rush out announcements at these shows. Like, you don't need to make it a successful show for your company by having an announcement. I mean, they got people talking about them, I'll give them that. The bad press is good press, whatever stupid phrase that is, but it's good that nothing happened and, we're basically back to where we started, but a lot of lessons to be learned.
Yeah, definitely. And here's a recommendation that I have to anybody who cares about this issue. Do yourself a favor. Go to the website of all the grading companies that you care about and that you like, and read their grading scales, and read the little paragraph that each of them gives to each of its grades. So PSA, in my opinion, has a really nice, clean layout of how its grading scale works. It tells you this is what a PSA 10 is. Here's the standard. Here's a PSA 9. Here's the standard. SGC has a nice, clean layout too, where you just click on a little square, it brings up the grade, and then it tells you exactly what the standard is for that grade. And then BGS has it as well. And go back, read those, and understand that these grading companies are telling you what the criteria are for you to get a gem mint or a pristine or a mint or a near mint, mint plus, and so on. The numerical thing is important. I think that's one of the strokes of genius of PSA, is the elegance of its grading scale. 10 gem mints, 9 mints, and on down from there. Whereas SGC and BGS have more detailed scales with more intermediate grades allowed.
Nuance,
but at the end of the and BGS, I think, was really worried that because over all these years, 9.5 had been the number that they assigned to the grade of gem mint. They were really worried, we're missing out on the elegance of having just a 10, 9, 8, 7, 6 grading scale. And they might be right about that, but it's too late in the game to just say, oops, my bad, those millions of cars we graded, they were wrong. It's too late in the game to do that. What you have to do is instead educate people about what 9.5 means on Beckett's grading scale. That's what you have to do. And if you do that, or if people take it upon themselves to realize that when Beckett issues a 9.5, it's called a gem mint, and read the paragraph that describes what the criteria are to get a gem mint, and then compare it against what other grading companies have as their standard of gem mints. Okay, just put the numbers out of your head for a second, because before the numerical scale existed, the linguistic scale existed. We had mints and near mint mints and so on. So that's my parting piece of advice. Before anybody opines further on the topic of grading scales, go read about what the grading scales are and what they mean.
Why is Beckett running away from this 9.5 thing anyways? Like, they've had the 9.5 gem mint for so long. And when I first came into the hobby, all thick cards, all auto cards, a 9.5 is what you wanted. Dude, go look at the RPAs of Kevin Durant. They're fucking all in BGS slabs. There's not even like 3 that are PSA. Everybody was chasing 9.5s when I came into the hobby. Chase that. Stick with that marketing. Lean into the fact you don't have it the same as PSA. Why would you want to be the same as PSA? Make it your own. You've got subgrades. You've got differences. You've got a 9.5 as your gem. It's different. Collectors like that difference. They like the optionality. Here's a free tip. As someone who works in tech, fix your goddamn website first. Go change your website. Update it. You can't just change the color of your website and make me think it's better. Put all your resources on that. You don't have to change the grades. You don't have to make a big splash. Just make your experiences better, make your tech better. Free bit of advice.
Nailed it. And like, if there was any thinking that just like, hey, if we just change around the numbers, this is going to shortcut us to making up lost ground in market space and market share, I think that's unwise. Like, the reason why PSA is grading orders of magnitude more per month is not because they their highest, they give out a lot of 10s or whatever. That's not the reason why. So don't. It's never wise to try and take a shortcut.
Yeah.
Instead, just do the work.
That's what it felt like. Yeah, like we're struggling to fix the site. We're struggling to keep up with demand and hire. So let's just change our slabs to 10. That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
Yep. Just build a better website. Hire someone who's really good at building websites. Fix it.
All right. That's the Beckett topic. Okay. Mostly 90s basketball. Let's go to the. All right.
Take the other one now.
Yeah, this is the tops topic.
Yeah.
Okay. So lots of questions on this. So mostly 90s basketball cards, who, if I'm not mistaken, appeared on Stacking Slabs this week. I haven't listened to it yet, but that should be a good episode to listen to this weekend. He says, how are you feeling about a potentially unlicensed Topps basketball release, which essentially was announced by Shams Charania on Twitter a day or two ago? What do you think about that?
I mean, didn't we already have that? They made one recently-ish, right? And it wasn't that exciting?
MK Sports Cards just posted his Isaiah Thomas fur coat 1/1
Right.
story from that set today.
You just made my point for me. Thank you. I would not be excited about unlicensed. I posted about it being excited. I don't know why. I didn't think to stop and think and be like, this is probably unlicensed. I don't care anymore. It's got to be licensed, or I just probably don't care.
Yeah, and it was left open. The tweet didn't say licensed or unlicensed.
Right.
Obviously, the licenses are with Panini right now and for a few more years. But, could companies collaborate? I mean, there are hypothetical worlds we could imagine where the product still could be licensed. They're not likely, but it could happen.
But because it came from Shams, who isn't like in the hobby, he's just sort of like announcing something. I got the feeling that he didn't know the nuances of like the licensing and the fact that they're years away. Like he just was announcing something. If it was someone in the hobby that's like, hey, we're getting Topps Chrome basketball license, then obviously I'd be more excited. It was like an outsider source of like someone that is very good and accurate with the basketball stuff. And so we got excited because of that sort of authority that he has. Oh, he must mean the good thing. It's like, he probably doesn't because he doesn't know.
Right. Fair. Okay. So.
But Topps Chrome basketball license would be.
Exactly. So building off that, Borderland card says, with Topps eventually making a comeback, does this mean no Prism basketball for next year? And just to clear that up, like, no, it doesn't mean that because of the ambiguity surrounding the licenses and the fact that licenses are still at Panini right now.
Right.
Okay, WTF.
Next year, depending on the timing, it might come out after the year's over anyway, so if you want to get...
Yeah, exactly. Okay, WTF Frankie podcast says, Topps Chrome basketball, yay or nay? And would you, as a Prism collector, be sad if this was the end for the Prism brand? So let me take this one on. No, I will not be sad. I'll be happy. Because I think that these brands have had a good run. And so, like, Panini's brands like National Treasures goes back to 2009. Prism goes back to 2012. Immaculate goes back to 2012. Optic goes back to 15-16. Revolution goes to 15-16. These brands are going to come up on having existed for somewhere between 10 and 15 years. I think that's a good run. That's a good lifespan. LeBron, when it's all said and done, will probably have somewhere between 130 and 150 Prism Golds and between 13 and 15 true Prism Black 1/1s. I think those are good amounts. And I think 12 to 15 years makes a good bookend on those brands. And there's going to be a period after the licenses transfer over if none of these Panini brands are acquired by Fanatics, where they're going to have to figure out a way to create like 36 brands and rebuild the basketball and football. In that little era, that like little 3 to 5 year era, probably, maybe it'll take less, but like that, those few years are going to be the time when collectors can go back and rediscover some of these Panini products that we don't care about right now because they're not the headliners. Or, we're focused on the Prisms and the Optics and the Selects and the NTs and everything. But there are like dozens of other products that we just don't think about or focus on too much. And I think there will be like a little renaissance period, a little nostalgia renaissance period where people can go back and rediscover these lower end, more obscure products that, we had overlooked. So I'm excited for all that to unfold. And I have come to terms with, and I actually look forward to, I think, a termination point, a bookend on the Panini era.
Yeah, like that little window from 2009 to 2012 when Panini was trying to figure out what they were doing and they hadn't really established any of the brands. People were starting to look at like Exquisite, Finest, trying to like really hone in on those specific ones, and it created this sort of short window of high desirability and a really like optimal amount of time for a reasonable chase for people. If you've got infinite years of Prism, the chase becomes less important versus if you've got this short window, the cards have more meaning. You're capturing like a window of Jokic's career, for example, or Harden or like LeBron, like you said. So it becomes more valuable. I personally would love to see a battle of Topps Chrome versus Prism, if nothing else, for the intrigue and excitement over battle lines and who's getting Topps Chrome basketball, who wants to get the Prism. Are the golds out of 50 for Topps Chrome? We're gonna see like where people value the ratios. Like really any of these scenarios, I'd be excited about.
Yeah, I like that, and I think it's gonna be interesting too. To like, this will be the second time that I've like had to open my mind to a whole new suite of brands, learn how to collect them, learn how to like them, learn how to appreciate them. Because like I was diehard 90s for a nice chunk of time. Like, well, you could go back and listen to House of Jordans and just like hear us like trashing Panini cards.
Yeah, like we definitely. I remember that. I was definitely on that train for a while
because we were so loyal to 90s and like, dude, like the zenith of the 90s collector experience for me was when you interviewed Gene. That interview was just like everything about 90s cards. That was
like I knew it was there. I fucking knew it.
Exactly. We knew these were awesome. We knew that you were so great, and it turned out to be true. And just everything she said, I just would take it and run with it and get so excited. Like she would cite Andy Warhol as an inspiration. Then I would go like try to find paintings that were similar to her designs. Like that was a great period. But then I opened my mind to Panini when I had a player that I wanted to collect, and that was the only option.
When we started chasing Luka.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now I've become something of a Panini loyalist. And I think the brands and products are awesome. But it's now I've been through that cycle once before, and now I know I'm gonna have to do it again. So exactly, Poop is exactly right.
Would you be like, let's just say all these Panini brands die, and you have to now bow to the overlords of Topps and whatever new brands Fanatics creates. How long do you think it would take you to kind of like get excited or get settled in? Because you mentioned this sort of like period where you knew Panini existed, you had years of it to look at it, and you just shut it off. Me as well, same reason. And you were sort of, it sounds like you were kind of forced into it, and then you loved it. So now that you're like forced into Fanatics, would it also take you a little bit of time?
Well, I am forced to do it. You're exactly right, because there's going to be players who I'm going to want to continue to collect new products of. So it's going to happen. But here's the thing I worry about. So Panini has like its hierarchy already established. Like here's the high-end mem card hierarchy. NT comes out first. It's considered the flagship RPA. Then you get Immaculate, which is considered like a lower tier but a nice alternative with really nice acetate and olive oil. And then wait until the beginning of the following season, and you get this super high-end Flawless, which like isn't really positioned as the flagship, but is positioned as super high-end mem cards. Like that whole thing, from the pricing tiers to the release schedule to the history of the brand. It's all built in. It's all baked in. Well, Fanatics is going to be starting from scratch, assuming there's no brands. So, like, how are they going to convince us in a market, well, this should be, you know, the NT, and then this should be the Immaculate, this should be the Spectra. You know, how are they going to establish a hierarchy, and then how are we as a market going to respond to it? You know, what if we really like the product that they want to be, you know, the secondary product, we want it to be the main? It's going to take time for that to sort itself out. It's going to take years.
Yeah.
And I'm worried about that, you know, because like it's going to be confusion and it's going to be tricky. So
Yeah, and we're already potentially years away from even starting that.
right. That's why
We
we're
might
in a little renaissance period.
We might be 6 years away from the Jokic card that we're after, and who knows where. You know what I mean? Like, these careers are going to change over the next 5 years. It's hard to predict. The only thing that I'll say on this topic is I'm just going to keep pleading, and any person that works at Fanatics, if you can listen to me, don't listen to me. I don't, you know, I hope you listen to the collector. We just want to have some say into what goes into this stuff. Like, the collectors are the ones that decide the hierarchy in the end. So, like, let us be here to help guide these companies. Like, listen to the collectors, figure out what people want before you just start firing off stuff that you don't know if it's going to work. Get feedback. Focus groups is the buzzword I've seen thrown around, whatever that actually means. Get collectors in a room and ask them what they want. These are the people that spend millions and millions of dollars on these cards. I think they know what they like. You know, I think we have a good idea of, like, what hierarchies we want to see, what types of parallels we want to see, what type of, you know, serial numbering we want to see. I don't know.
Focus groups, isn't that where like a bunch of people huddle together and just think really hard? They just start focusing.
Sure. Or it's like they've got the 2-panel glass, you know, where you, like, they can't see out, but the people watching can see in.
Right. I was just trying to make a bad joke. Okay, all right. Okay, so moving on to a related topic, Bruin Killer writes, now that all the Panini employees have left Panini and joined Fanatics, is there an opportunity for new blood at Panini? So are you familiar with this report that came out of Sports Collectors Daily that talked about, oh my God, okay, well, there was reporting from Sports Collectors Daily that a lot of the important, experienced product designers, acquisition specialists, and so on and so forth who work at Panini were hired away from Panini this week and joined Fanatics, and leaving Panini in a tight spot because they just lost, important and difficult to replace people who build their products. And so this question is sort of saying, well, now that there's these vacancies at Panini, will there be an opportunity for some aspiring talent to step in and guide Panini through these final few years with the licenses?
Just makes me more worried about these lame duck years.
I could not agree more. It's to me, it's a calculated risk by Fanatics, right? Because, you don't want to wound or injure Panini too much, because if the number of products they put out has to come down and the quality has to start coming down, and you're shrinking the pie. So when Fanatics eventually does pick up the baton, it's going to be smaller and heavier. That's a weird metaphor. When Fanatics does finally take over, they're going to have a weakened industry. They will have weakened the industry in the short term, and they'll have even more work to do. They have even more work cut out for themselves.
Some of these moves, I mean, I'm completely speculating. I have no inside sources. I'm making this up, so don't aggregate me, as Bill Simmons would say. It feels like some of these moves are to, like, squeeze out Panini early and get going now.
Absolutely.
Isn't that what people are running with? Like, oh, maybe that means they're going to buy Panini, or they're going to take the brands from her, do a swap for the licenses, and let's just get going now. Like, you can take this license, we'll take that one. Like, let's just call it like it is, because we see where this is going.
Absolutely. Yep, I think that's right. I mean, and look, Fanatics wants to get going. Let's just That's what's going on here. They're ready to go. I'm quite sure that they would have loved to have been able to just absorb Panini by now, took over their licenses, and would be producing this next year's worth of cards, it's going to be a quarterback loaded draft class for the NFL.
Yep.
And it's going to be the Victor Wembanyama, Scoot, etc. draft class.
Dude, like, I know we're like ready for Fanatics to take over some people. We're ready for Top Scrum, this and that. Like, this is like, you just said it. There's like huge rookie classes coming out. We cannot not capitalize on this 2-year window or 3-year window, whatever it is. Like, I know we want to just say, oh, it's just, the lame duck years and we're going to have this transition. We can't fuck up this transition no matter who's in charge. There's too many important rookies. Wembanyama is like, aren't they saying he's like the most surefire since LeBron? And you don't know who's in charge of making his cards? That seems like a problem. And freaking Caleb Williams next year, dude, his cards are going to be, I know that's not this year, but I know there's some good rookie quarterbacks this year, but the Caleb Williams thing is already building up steam for next year. Teams are like tanking. My Cardinals are basically tanking now for him. We already have a quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. But like Kyler's not a big deal. All right. LAFC Gooner, it was nice to meet you at the Mint. He wants to know, is Collectible going to fold? That's the first question. And the second question is, who is next? So, as far as Collectible, we have had David and Ezra on this show a few times. Support and love those guys. But in terms of like what the future of their business is or what the future of Collectible is, just reach out to Collectible. That's all I can say about that. I have no knowledge one way or the other on that. And then Josh, the other part of the question is, who is next? Who is next? Which, like, we don't need to predict the company, but I think the subtext here is like there is definitely an air of startups from the last few years, hitting their limit and going away.
Yeah. Was this question slightly hinting at the fractional companies? Like maybe some of the, like Rally had some bad public news this week. I don't know. Maybe not. It seems like fractional probably does have a little, some space in the hobby. And some of those companies might go through some pain just based on everyone going through pain with the market going down, and the fact that they're held up by like the share values or however it works is tough when in a down market. But I don't know. I don't want to predict the downfall of other startups and, different people in the space that we're friendly with. That seems cruel.
Yep, that's just one of those questions where I agree with that sentiment. It's just a question worth reading because it's in the air right now. People are worried about the state of a lot of these startups and companies. So it's not just a tough market environment for cards. It's also a tough market and environment for startups and venture capital. So, all right. Long Island Sports Cards says, will the Golden Co. Netflix show be an accurate portrayal of #the hobby? Or will it focus on the glitz and glam of 2021 collectibles that has since greatly diminished?
I would say it's going to be more about the glitz and glam, but I don't know that it's necessarily going to focus on, like, we'll know, the people in the space will know that the prices then were higher than now, and there's not much they can do about that. We can't refilm it, But I think I heard that it's like the same sort of vibe as Selling Sunset from Netflix, which is more about like the drama and the glitz and glam and less about like hardcore real estate people getting excited about like real estate property in California. So I think it's going to be more focused on like the characters and the the drama around it.
Yeah, I think that's right. Cards really didn't even show up much in the trailer. I think I counted more pinball machines than cards in the Golden Touch trailer. So for those coming from the card collector point of view, I don't know if there's a ton of representation of that of us in this show relative to other categories of collectibles like memorabilia, like Mac computers, and other things, that were shown in the
Are
trailer.
you saying pinballs or pinheads?
Pinball machines.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. This is going to be more about Ken, the employees at Golden, the celebrities they bring on. It's going to be a lot more about that than it is, learning about the history of the hobby or, how to collect and stuff like that.
Right. Exactly. Okay. Lots of different directions to go in here. I'm just going to read this question too. We don't need to react to this, but this came in from,
I will
this
react.
came-
I promise.
This came in from High Fades 82, who writes, "Is Derek Jeter's grading company gone? Who is next?" And and the last question is, why do people think they will succeed?
Well, I want to know why do we have this sort of like shark mentality of wanting these companies to fail? Is it that I think a lot of it, dude, and I can totally relate and empathize because I feel similar, is that like we've been collecting for a while. We have our patterns, we have our companies that we trust, we have our sort of flow that we go through where we buy raw stuff or we buy graded on eBay or, auction house. We grade it, we put it on our PC, and that's the way we functioned for a long time. And then, the market was doing well, and then companies came in and tried to tell us how to change things. They told us you need to start vaulting, you need to start, doing like, taking out loans against your cards and all this sort of stuff that never happened before. And so these companies were telling us how to do it, telling us what we were doing wrong. They called our hobby, what was the word?
Brutal.
Brutal. They call our hobby brutal. Tech needs to save us. We don't know what we're doing. We're just nerds collecting. There was a lot of that going on. And now that some of those companies are struggling, I think there's a human reaction, which is like, I told you so. You deserve this failure because we told you this is not what we wanted. Am I onto something?
Yeah, I think you are for sure.
So
yeah, there's also a flashiness with a lot of these companies. It's like, look, and for better and worse, it's like we have all these celebrities, we have all these rich people, we have all this money, we have all this intelligence, we have all this success. Look at us, trust us, go with us. On the one hand, that's going to be persuasive and it is going to lead people to go with you. But on the other hand, it's going to make people be like, okay, well, you said you were such hot shit. You said you were so great. You have all these celebrities, all this money, all this, you're so awesome. Well, why isn't it working out?
yeah, I think that's the reason I brought that up is this arena one has a lot of that. Like there's a lot of faces and celebrities and Derek Jeter, and it's like I'm not even sure what the product is and how it's different from some of the other stuff I already do. So I could see why the arena one kind of gets, maybe fairly or unfairly, placed on that sort of category.
It's just it's just something in the water right now. Is it also may be people. A different interpretation would be it also might be people just worried.
Yeah.
And this is how their worry is manifesting. It's like, come on, just give me the bad news. Just get it over with.
Coping mechanisms.
Don't set up my expectations. Don't set me up for failure. Just I'm worried. I'm worried about the state of these companies. I'm worried about the state of the hobby. Let's just rip the Band-Aid off. Let's get the pain over with.
Well, there's only one company that you really need to worry about and focus on, and that is the company that makes the cards. Because if someone's making the cards and we've got licensed products of our favorite athletes, the other stuff will kind of work itself out. Like if you're still able to, and we already have all these historical cards. I've said this a bunch too. If they stop making cards today, I would still have a lane where I'm still collecting old cards that have already. You can't uncreate all the stuff that I already love and collect. So, companies can come in, they can leave, they can make all these changes, but ultimately, like, you still define your own experience in the hobby.
Absolutely. All right. Now we've got some collector-y questions to get to here. Let's go to Vinny Slabarino. I can't believe I've put off this question for this long. What do you think Vinny opens with, Christina?
Always enjoy the show.
Vinny
Love
says
how
he
we don't have any confusion over what it is anymore. We all just like always enjoy the show.
always enjoyed the show.
AETS.
We need to title a show that sooner or later. Let me just write that one down right now. Okay. So Vinny says, please share your view on subgrades. Do you care what they are? And if you do, why? For me, I don't need a full autopsy of my card. Just tell me the overall grade and I can see for myself whether I agree or not. I can't even tell the difference between a 9 or a 9.5 edge anyway. Thanks, Vinny.
Yeah, this kind of goes to what I was saying earlier, where I think collectors like having PSA that doesn't have it and BGS that does. Kind of gives you, if you like it one way, you can go that. If you like it the other way, you go with PSA. It's nice. You've got these two camps. People are, I have to have subgrades or else. Okay, you collect BGS. I hate them. I never want to see a subgrade. Great, you've got PSA. So I think that's really nice. I personally probably fall on the more no subgrades. I just like the number. But, the subgrades are cool. I don't hate them. I think they're cool.
Yep. I fall in the same camp. I don't hate them. I do think they're cool, but I'm not passionate about them. I am passionate about BGS keeping them because that's how they've done it. Yeah.
I like them because it's like a grading rubric, and then you can clearly see where they knocked off points. So,
Yeah.
I don't have to guess, why this is 9 versus a 10. It's like, oh, this is a 9 because the centering and the surface.
Yeah, so it's almost like you want to know why it didn't get a 10 versus I want to know this was a 93 out of 100. You know what I mean? You'd rather just know, you're just looking for the reason.
Yeah.
Sense.
All right. There you go, Vinny.
I've always wanted that from PSA, by the way. Where it's just put a little note, one little sentence. Got a 9 because of this. Got an 8 because of this. How the fuck did this get a 4? It's a 2020 card. Well, it got a 4 because of this. That'd be nice.
It got a 4. I know why I get 4s. I get a 4 because PSA is telling me, why are you submitting this card to get graded, you buffoon?
I saw that pile at Mint. You got a lot of 10s and 9s and stuff.
Yeah. You did see that. Shout out to that pile, man. That pile traveled a lot of miles.
And then came back with a...
And then came back a little bit lighter.
I'm going to start dropping commercials of turtles getting murdered and just send them to you.
Look, I'm not discarding these slabs, all right?
Those videos are their heads caught in the soda, whatever, I'm talking about the circle soda things.
These slabs are not containing turtle heads.
Good. Okay, I'm glad to hear that.
These slabs will never be thrown into the ocean and join the giant island of garbage.
Then you need to sell them to don't sell them to the plastic corporations. Just promise me that.
You have my word. I will sell them to a 10-year-old who will gouge me and then take those slabs and trade them. They'll trade those slabs up until they own a PMG Green Jordan.
Trade-up challenge? We should hire kids to go to shows with those cards and be like, I'm doing a trade-up challenge.
How do you know people aren't already doing that?
I bet they are.
You don't even need to hire them. Just child labor is free, I heard.
All right. From Goose Cards. I want to get some cards graded, but PSA's forms freak me out. Why am I like this?
You could use a group sub, which is what most people do when they get freaked out. But I've been saying this for a long time. PSA, BGS, make your form submission better. Make it easier. Make it where I don't have to think. I should just be able to send the card in, and you just tell me what it is, and you grade it.
Which is basically what group sub is, right?
Exactly.
Yep. Look at that. Christina gave out a $1 million idea for free, says Jordan. All right. Timmy D21PC says, how many times during the day is it acceptable to check eBay's save searches?
Well, let's just say how many we do. Let's start there.
I don't check them enough. Like, if I could discipline myself and carve out the time and if I could check them every 15 minutes, I would. And that's partially because I'm feeling the pain of missing out on a massive Luka who went for a steal this week.
Yep.
It happened this week. Hedges cards got it, but I'm strongly encouraging him to sell it to us. What about you, Josh?
Are you strongly encouraging him through the use of money?
I haven't used money yet, but I have told him, and he knows that he can just flip it to me for however much he wants. Here's the card, by the way.
Well, that's a good little trick. You just say, hey, I found what you paid on card buyer. I will give you more.
Right. Oh, he knows. We all saw.
Oh, my goodness. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yep. This showed up on eBay. Was there.
Oh,
It
God.
was there for seconds. It was on.
How much did it sell for?
Well, do you want to make this? This is the rookie, obviously, the one of one. There's a few.
Let me just say something real quick. This is a rookie card, right?
Yep.
This is my favorite Luka card that exists.
Ooh. Wow. Okay. Don't hype
That
it
card
up
is
too much.
sick. That card is amazing.
Yeah, love this card. So this is the Kaleido one of one, which is the only one of one parallel. But Luka has like two or three different base set cards. Two. So there's two Kaleido one of ones, but it's of two different cards. So
Ooh.
with that in mind, would you
Yeah. Okay.
like to hazard a guess for what it sold for? It was up for seconds.
Well, that means that it was priced at least not, it wasn't priced at 100 grand, it was probably a little bit underpriced if someone snatched it quickly. Let's say like 7 grand.
Very good guess. It was five grand.
Oh.
So I'm looking at it through card ladder right now, obviously. Sold for 5 grand.
Yeah, I think I would have snatched that at 5.
Yep.
Damn, that's such a sweet card. Yeah, you got to get that one.
Yeah, and I know where the other one is too. The other one got a 10.
Those are very visually appealing.
Yeah, those are sick. No, you didn't, Jordan. I know you got it.
Upper and 5+X,
Jordan did guess it correctly.
Yeah, I saw.
Offer him what?
5.
5. Oh, 5 plus X, yeah.
Yeah, X is, get creative.
Well, he's having a story sale right now because he's trying to pick up something else, and maybe I need to remind him.
He's trying to pick up something else, so he needs money? Well, there you go. Give him money.
I know. I don't know what to offer, though.
I do.
Money.
Yeah, money.
Money,
Yep.
currency. Legal tender. American dollars.
Bitcoin?
Whoa.
Whoa,
I'm pretty sure you don't have any for him.
a fraction of a crypto dick butt.
Let's calm down here. I need you to be able to, have a place to sleep tonight. I can't have you homeless.
How about a stock option in my new chatbot language model?
That's future potential earning capital liquidity of $10 trillion. So I don't know if that's smart.
Dude, the institutional capital is coming in.
The liquidity is melting. It's even more liquid. It's going to be steam. It's going to be steam soon. If you keep this up, you're going to have fucking gas in your hands. You're going to be farting liquidity.
Oh, yeah. All right. Mad City Collector says, I know you don't collect post-playing day cards, but I've seen a lot of cool post-playing day cards in my feed recently, and I have been buying some as well. What makes a good post-playing day card, in your opinion?
brand that it's in. I don't know.
Yeah. That's good. Belonging to an important set.
Yeah, like I wouldn't really go after any post-playing days Penny Hardaways, but like a black Prism would probably tickle my fancy slightly, you know?
Yeah. That sounds about right. Yeah.
The answer to one of the questions tonight is going to be asset.
Okay.
So just log that away.
Why do you say that? Oh, because you know a question that's coming? Or?
Just get to that question and it'll look like a genius.
Oh, it's the next one. I know what it is. It's the next question.
He's like, what's that thing that the guy before Jay Leno, he would like read the note on his head and he would, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Johnny Carson or something?
It just happened.
Yeah.
It just happened.
Boom.
Wait, hold on. I need to write down that right there.
The hot dog stand, remember that from Office?
Yeah.
The Johnny Carson. The answer is asset.
All right. And the question, since we're doing this Jeopardy style, the question is from Tasty Card Sandwich. If you could erase one of the following overused words or phrases from the sports card collecting lexicon as if it never had existed, what would it be? And then he gives some options: goat, grail, comp, brand, asset, the hobby, auction recap. The hobby? What? Auction recap.
They make so many great words like liquidity and capital and investment. So many great terms that he missed.
I know. The hobby is funny because somebody that I know very well who came back to the hobby within the last 4 to 5 years used to be like, dude, calling it the hobby is so dumb. It's pretentious, it's stuffy, it's stupid, it's annoying. Like, he hated it so bad for a while.
I just always picture Chad Siebel as, I love the hobby. Every time I hear the hobby, I just picture Siebel as
Dude,
so excited.
Siebel's impression game is fucking on point.
Okay, so is asset the right answer?
Asset is a great answer. I don't have any problem with goat or grail, although to Legit's point, grail is used too loosely.
Dude, I'm pretty sure GOAT doesn't stand for greatest of all time. It's meant for one, and we kind of like give it to a few people.
Right. We give it to a lot of people.
I don't have any problem with that. I think it's fun.
Yeah. Comp. I have no problem with comp. Brand. It gets a little brand. I understand what people are saying when they invoke brand. I've used the word brand to describe things, but like, it does start to get a little cringy when we transpose the concept of brand onto like everything.
Or like an individual, like your brand in the hobby, and it's like, we're talking about brands of cards. You know, it should stop there. Not your brand.
Exactly. Like I'm not quite that far. I understand the concept of applying the theory of brand to a lot of different ways, but it borders on that. Asset. Talk about why you chose asset.
Because it's the only one in that grouping that was like the asset investment VC bro stuff.
Yeah.
Plus, it's not a fucking asset. It's literally the opposite of an asset. It's a collectible. It, like, by definition, it's not an asset. It's a collectible.
Right. Yeah. I like that take as well. That a lot of auction descriptions are going to need to be revised if we can't use that.
Well, I think we know now that we got ChatGPT making those descriptions, at least for PWC. Those guys are rattling off nonsense in those descriptions. It's like someone went to ChatGPT and was like, hey, write me a description for a listing of a memorabilia of LeBron James. And it's like, you got it. In 2007 is when LeBron really defined his career by beating the Pistons, blah, blah, blah. What the fuck?
I like that there's a username called Beavis Cards that points out it has the word ass in it. So shout out to Beavis Cards. Where's Butthead Cards at? That's
It also has the word set in it, which is important to the hobby.
counterpoint.
A hobby.
Okay. The hobby. No, we can't get rid of the hobby. That's even if it was a terrible. I mean, we can't.
Yeah, we hate it, but it's hard.
It's already been established.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And then we have auction recap, which there's nothing wrong with the term itself.
I wouldn't mind.
Am I in the middle of something or not? Yes, I think I was.
No, I don't
That's
think
okay.
you are.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Yep. Just like it was just like the pause in the middle of my sentence. She just waited for any pause.
Well, sometimes I can do that with you too. Susie talks a lot.
All right, let me make my point. All right, my point is this: auction recap is fine. Like it's accurate. It's describing what's happening. But I've been conditioned to have a Pavlovian response to when I see auction recap. There's dread and doom and misery surely following.
Can I give you guys a tip as a couple? We do this, but we do it with our kids, so just bear with me.
Yeah.
Let me get them. When the adults are talking, the parents are talking, and one of the kids wants to jump in and just fucking cut us off with their whatever they're gonna say.
Yeah.
We make them do this to us. They hold up 3 fingers, and that signals to, it's like raising your hand in class. It signals to us, okay, when we're done, we'll immediately go to your ridiculous thing you're about to say that you'll probably even forget. So if Christina's got something to say,
Hey,
the two of us are.
let's see if she forgot. What were you gonna say, Christina?
Okay. Well, Josh just put down a new rule.
How about this? No, how about this?
No, that's fine. Thank you. I will abide by the rules from now on.
No. This remote will be the talking stick.
Well, I'll just like grab it. How do I get it?
You have a new rule.
I have a new rule.
What's your new rule?
I have to hold up 3 fingers if I want to speak.
That rule was meant for like the two of you on your own time.
I, for one, embrace this rule. And I just think this rule is great.
Why
Yes.
did we choose 3? I don't even know why we chose. It was my wife. She's like 3. I'm like, why don't you just have them do 1? You know?
Yeah, right. It's kind of an awkward position to put my hands in.
I think because it makes them stop and think like, oh shoot, I can't just scream words out. I have to like hold 3 fingers up.
Speaking of children doing interrupting things, when we were at the Mavs game tonight, there's this kid in front of Christina, and he had this big poster, and he just flung it back and just stabbed her right in the face.
Oh my god. As if she wasn't already annoyed enough at this game.
Oh man, that game was so awkward.
I'm not gonna forget.
Christian Wood started cheering at the end of the game when we missed, and Luka had to like pull him to sit down. He was like, "Stop! You can't be cheering when our team misses." But
Well,
what do you mean? Like you are because you're tanking. So that's actually what you're rooting for. And like Mark Cuban was like cheering when like Mavs players would score. I'm like, why are you cheering? What are you doing, Mark? You're the one who sent down the order to tank the game. You don't get to cheer for your team after you set them up to lose.
well, I think Theo Pinson definitely got the memo of the tank because that dude is terrible at defense.
Dude, Theo Pinson he knows what his job is on that team.
Go back
He's a
to
company.
waving towels. Yeah.
He's a company.
I didn't
All right.
know Kobe White could go left so easily with 0 deterrent.
Right. And then like on that last possession, like where like okay, the Mavs are down 3 and they have like 15 seconds left. And McKinley Wright decides to pull a 3 with 15 seconds left. No.
And then when I hit the side of the backboard, it was like, well, this is fitting. You guys wanted a tank. This is what happens.
Yeah, they ordered a tank and a tank arrived.
Man, why is Christian Wood? That guy is a goober. What's he cheering for?
I don't know, dude. He was cheering when the Mavs missed.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
Cheering on the tank.
It's like just complete confusion, right? Like, what am I supposed to cheer for? I don't even know what I'm supposed to do tonight.
I mean, you should just be able to forfeit that game. You know, like
Yeah, yeah.
Why do we have to go through this whole charade? Why do we have to go?
Well, the Suns were clearly not trying tonight. They benched everybody, and then Biyombo got hurt for real. So I'm like, can't we just fucking forfeit these games? Why do I have to watch my backup center get hurt over a game you guys don't even give a shit about?
Yes. Oh, Christina's actually employing the one finger technique that you suggested.
Oh, that's the better one.
What? Go on. I know you have opinions on this tank. No.
She's been in the she feisty all night about this tank. We know she's got opinions.
Yeah, it was not a pleasant tank. I would love to know if there's ever been a time in NBA history when a playoff eligible team with 2 games left tanked.
So you guys didn't leave the stadium being like, "Wow, that was awesome."
No. Yeah, no. What a great. Oh, and then one of the most awkward moments was like, so first of all, they play Luka for 1 quarter, which was announced before the game. They're like, he's going to play for 1 quarter. It's Slovenia night, and then he's going to sit. And and he actually came back out for the 2nd quarter, and I was like, oh, what is going on here?
He played 13 minutes.
Well, because I had this little fantasy of like Luka's just going to override everything and sub himself back in and just tell everybody to fuck up. But no, they left him in so we could get one last basket, and then they could make an announcement that says, oh, Luka had 13 points and 5 rebounds and 2 assists. And like the crowd was supposed to like cheer and say, oh, good season. But, and there was some clapping or whatever, but like it wasn't the standing ovation that Mark Cuban and everybody thought it was going to be, because half the fans had no idea that a tank was even going on, let's just be honest. So they just thought Luka was just going out during a regular rotation. And B, the other half of us who did know what was going on, I'm not about to just take orders from the Cuban machine of like, you will approve of our tank and you will celebrate this player that we're taking off the court to ensure that we lose. I'm not just going to stand up and start cheering, yay, you're taking out the guy so you ensure that your team loses. Like, it was so awkward and dumb.
Plus, there's like definitely 100% more than 0 people at that game where that was the only home game they went to all year for financial reasons or otherwise, that had to watch that shit. And I know that happens in every stadium, not just the Mavs. Like, if you got a ticket to a Lakers game and you wanted to see KD tonight, nope, sorry, you're just benching him. So that shit sucks all around.
Yeah, it does. Yes, it does. All right.
Don't worry, son. You get to watch them in the first quarter, and then they're going to not try. It's like, what?
Right. Exactly. Okay. We've got time for a few more here. This is from Nick's Basketball Card PC. He says, if you had all the money in the world,
Oh, sweet.
Right, what percentage of your want list do you think that you could actually purchase? I think I'd only be able to buy about 50% of what I actually want, because the rest of those cards, they just aren't for sale no matter the price.
50%? That seems a little low. But it's not 100.
Yeah, it's not 100.
I don't know. I feel like more like 90. Like most people, at a certain point, especially if it's all the money in the world, it's like, all right, I love Todd Gurley, but if you're going to give me $1 million for his Black Prism rookie, like, here you go.
100%. Given the extreme of literally endless money, almost any card could be pried out for the right price. It's really hard to imagine one that could.
Yeah.
I couldn't even tell you what that card would be right now. Maybe like a 98 Precious Metal Gem Masters 1/1 Jordan might not be able to get Pride out no matter the price. I don't know.
If you had all the money in the world, doesn't that mean everyone else has no money?
It does. Yep.
How does that work?
People start buying things with their own on the barter system.
If you are the only one with money, isn't your money worthless?
Right. Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
catch-22.
Yep. Good. That's true. That's a catch-22 right
This is
there.
late hour two discussion now.
Yes. Yep. This is only for the big brains. All right, let's get to this one from Drake. And Caden just, why'd you have to do that, Caden? All right. Drake's PC says, in an eBay auction, you can see the number of unique bidders and feedback to understand if a card is being shilled and potentially how much unique competition you may have for the card. While a unique bidder can always come in and snipe at the last second, do you think there's value in that information? If so, is it good or bad that most auction houses do not disclose the number of unique bidders and they don't disclose feedback?
This is a you question. You look at that stuff way more than I do.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know how the auction houses are going to, like, feedback is unique to eBay, and you can get it as a seller or as a buyer, and it requires the other party in your transaction to rate you. And that's just kind of awkward in the auction house setting. Although maybe instead of feedback, you can just have like a number of transactions score. But then, you know, I think something like this would emerge if it solved a pressing problem. But I think there's just such a tendency to protect privacy of clients and bidders that anything that even starts to move away from privacy is going to be, you know, you're going to have to really push really hard to get it. But to answer the spirit of the question, like, yeah, that is useful information, and it would be more helpful to us as bidders for sure if we were able to know the number of unique bidders, and if we were able to know sort of distinguish them by, you know, how many items they purchased at that auction house.
Yeah. And maybe for the purposes of that, you give them that information after the auction ends for privacy, and, like, you know, only give it out in terms of the number of unique bidders, the number of bidders, and not necessarily, because I know a lot of people with eBay, they'll like reverse engineer who the bidders are based on their feedback score, and just like, oh, this guy bought this card, I've seen that card on Instagram, it's this guy, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Tiger Jordan 311 says, I received a second chance offer on eBay this week. Should the second chance offer be my high bid amount, not including bids from the non-paying winner? The second chance offer I received was just a couple dollars less than the winning bid. So I went ahead and paid it because I wanted the card, but I had the feeling of being shilled because the next highest bid was well below mine. And obviously it was well below the non-paying winner.
It should be the incremental bid over the third place winner, right?
Right. That would be what that item would have went for had the non-paying bidder not been involved.
Yep, it should be that. But of course, no, let's get greedy. Let's go for the $2 below the losing bid.
Right. Yep. That's
Shock of the century. It's like that's like, you know, I buy $1,000 card and they want to charge me like $50 in shipping, even though it costs $10. That's what that feels like. You're just gouging me.
Yep, exactly. All right, let's get to a question from Brax Ball Cards. He says, much shorter than usual. He says, when choosing, oh, here we go. When choosing an asset to invest in, I reference my 16-point asset profit manifesto that I spent 3 years crafting, developing, and perfecting through trial and error. It is absolutely foolproof. I have consistently bought at the bottom and sold at the peak with a 100% success rate
Wow.
since I applied the plan. Aren't I fucking awesome, bro?
Wow, Jesus. That's the question. Well, it's giving me some insight on who I think this might be.
It's not. I thought it was, but it can't be.
No, it's obviously like someone that's super trolling hard,
Yeah.
to where they're probably like the most pure person in the hobby, the way that they're going so hard on this.
Yeah. Yep.
It's probably
I need to get my.
it's Kyle from Wax Museum Podcast. That's my next guess.
That's not a bad guess. I was expecting a 20-point manifesto.
16 is pretty nice though, because you got your square root. It's a nice number. I like 16. Works for brackets, sports.
That's right. He has like a March Madness bracket of 16 points that end ultimately in one winning principle.
Sports metaphors are the best.
Look, Brendan Ryan 74 has hung out with us in the chat all night. Let me get to his question. He says, would a universal grading scale standard, would that solve the debate and the difference between the grading companies? The idea of the coined term gem mint is subjective, and having different grading scales just adds confusion to the marketplace. Level the field by adopting an agreed upon grading scale that's universal. And it's then only a matter of how well grading companies abide by the scale. And it lets consistency decide who's king. This is the way.
I think that would have to be like a third party thing, because we're back to the issue of if you make all these grading companies change their grading scale to this new universal one, now we're in the same pickle with Becca where you've messed up the pop reports and we've got everyone changing their pop reports and the scales are all messed up based on historical data and retroactively changing everything. It's more of like just like a third party, how you sort of try to line them all up is maybe what I was thinking.
Makes sense.
NBA stickers. We'll put gold and silver stickers on the cards.
Yeah, I totally understand the impetus behind the idea. Sounds great in a vacuum. Would have been better if it could have started that way. But I actually think, to our conversation from earlier, I think that it's okay the way it is now. There is some confusion for sure, but I think it's worked out okay the way it is now. And I personally like the companies having full control over what their grading scale is and how they want to set it up and stuff like that. I want them to have that freedom to do that. I just don't want them to abuse it or mess it up.
Yeah, because the grades and the scales is like kind of part of the product. It's like that's kind of what they're selling. Yeah. Differentiate.
All right. That was a great round of questions and a lot of topics.
Yep.
So let's wrap it here. Can we just agree let's just call this one Always Enjoy the Show?
Well, you got to read them off real quick.
There's a lot. All right. Here they go. Power feature. Stuff the goat. As opposed to stiff the goat. My experience was douche free. Getting beat by benches. Some people pay 120% of comps. Smaller and heavier? I don't know what that means.
The baton. You were like talking about the baton.
Right.
I know what you were trying to say. I thought it was clever.
Okay. I knew you followed me, but it's
like it's harder to grab it, and then when you do grab it, it's actually heavier. It's like, how is this even happening? I get it.
Exactly. Child labor is free.
As that was coming out of my mouth, I wish I could unsay it, but oh well.
I always have like 2 or 3 wish I could unsay it that hit me at some point after the show.
Just picture some like overlord messaging me and be like, I heard what you said on the show last night and you're fired from your life.
Right, exactly. Farming liquidity. That would be a nice follow-up to sniping liquidity.
Right.
underrated, tickle my fancy slightly,
Mm.
and then always enjoy the show.
Read the third one.
The third one's my experience was douche free.
If you don't want to choose Vinny's this week because you want to save it, that's the one.
No, I can't do that. I don't want douche in the algorithm.
I don't know how to spell that.
Douche, D-O-U-C-H-E. I don't know. Oh, hubbubaloo. That's a
You
word
like
that I've heard people use and I've seen written, but I've never uttered it myself.
say it again.
Hubbubaloo.
Is that like what's this all about? Kind of is that what that word is?
I think so. Yeah.
I thought that was what's the hubbub or hubbubaloo. What's all the discussion about?
No, that's like what's the hubbub?
Okay, so hubbubaloo is different.
Let me just look up this word and make sure it means what I think it means, and we don't have to delete this whole episode. Okay. Oh, it's hullabaloo,
Oh God, how embarrassing for us.
and it means a commotion or a fuss. Remember all the hullabaloo over the golf ball?
Stupid 1950s sentence. Remember the hullaboo over the golf ball? Well, I think this is a good week for Vinny because you almost forgot his question somehow and you push it to the end. So this is like our ode to him
I think.
in honor of him.
Yep, agreed. This is the Vinny tribute episode. So, all right.
Are you putting up a period at the end? Are you putting a period at the end?
I guess I should.
There you go.
I guess I should. All right. See you guys next week.
A lot has changed since Card Ladder began. We started with 500 cards in our database, and now we have over 3 million cards and over 30 million sales.
For anyone asking who is the best, we putting our hands up.
With Card Ladder's sales history feature, we have virtually every card in our system. If the card you are looking for ever sold on one of these platforms, you can find it using Card Ladder's sales history, and you can add a card to your collection with just one click.
My time, none of you people can tell me to stop.
Plus, every card, no matter the last time it sold, has an estimated value that we calculated using our state-of-the-art player indexes. Unlike other apps, when you see Card Ladder's verified checkmark, that means a researcher personally vetted each and every sale.
We know what it takes to be reaching the top.
We know what you want, because Card Ladder was created by collectors for collectors.
Know what it takes to be reaching the top.
Join the innovators, not the imitators. Card Ladder 2.0, constantly innovating. Try it for free. See why Card Ladder is the industry leader in sports card data.
We know what it takes to be reaching the top.
Card Ladder 2.0.